What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and this is a little impromptu stream because I had some ideas and I figured they were better left said to you guys than just floating around in my head. So, before we get started, like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. Banner across the bottom of the screen is for you, not for me. If you respect what I do and appreciate what I do, then show me some love. So, just got finished watching Wreck-It Ralph, and I hadn't seen it in a while. But one of my favorite reviewers had reviewed it, and I really enjoyed her reactions to it. And I was trying to remember if I even remembered how that movie ended, and I really didn't. So I figured when I get home, I have some time today. I'm not doing anything, no league tonight, no nothing. I would get home and watch it, and that's what I did. I came home, I kicked back on the couch, got out the work clothes into the skivvies, and just enjoy watching a movie that was good. And I was struck by something because I didn't know where I would find Wreck-It Ralph to watch it, and it turned out Wreck-It Ralph was on Disney Plus. I was like, okay, cool. Whatever, Ray Hama. So when I finished it, I was thinking about a conversation I had today with FD Steven, right? And we were talking about shows and stuff like that for about 30 minutes, which was cool. We don't usually get a lot of time to converse with each other in person because we're both working on the same place, but he will be moving soon and trying to get in those conversations before, he relocates. So I'm sitting there watching Wreck-It Ralph, and I'm thinking about what I want to watch next. And one of the things that came up in Stephen and I's conversation was Andor and how good Andor was, because inevitably our conversation swung around to the Acolyte and Star Wars and all this crap. And we're both sharing our thoughts on what was going on with it, where it can go, where it should go. And got to having some decent ideas percolating in that sense. All right. So we were talking and mentioning Andor, and he could not remember if he had what the third part, the 3-episode arc was Andor. And we went through it, and I told him the first one was a heist, second one was the prison break, and then the last one was the rebellion. But he couldn't remember how it ended. So he's like, he was thinking that he should go back and watch it. And I was like, definitely you should go back and watch it, because at least Andor is getting a season 2, right? They're already filming it. So while I'm sitting on the couch thinking about what I want to watch next after Wreck-It Ralph, I was thinking about watching Andor again and just refreshing myself on what that 3-episode arc was in the 12 episodes. And then I thought about it. I had a flood of ideas that came to me, partly out of the conversation I had with Steven and just on my own about Star Wars and how to fix it, right? Because you guys know me. I'm a carpenter, to my heart. Fixing things and whatnot is what I do. And 2 things made me laugh about that. Why it came to mind after watching Wreck-It Ralph, because the supporting character in Wreck-It Ralph is Fix-It Felix, right? And Fix-It Felix is a carpenter. So he got a magic hammer from his father who had passed, right? So he just fixes things by using his hammer. And I thought that was kind of funny because it's obviously a play on Super Mario Brothers and Donkey Kong, right? Wreck-It Ralph being the replacement for Donkey Kong, Fix-It Felix being a replacement for Mario, right? So what's good, Chocolate Witch? Aria, she's in here. So thinking about that, I was thinking about my own talent and skill, which is fixing things. building or fixing things. And I was thinking, since I was so disappointed looking through, it's good to Triff. So disappointed looking through the Disney Plus catalog for Star Wars and what I would be willing to watch again and how much of it I wouldn't. And oh, what's good? Black Bane in the building, coming through, dropping the 20 on me. Appreciate you, Black Bane. For that, I will give you, break up the conversation for a hot minute, but I will give you the power of 20. Appreciate you, Black Bane.
Power of one, the power of two, the power of many. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
Appreciate you, Bane. So I was thinking about to myself, because there's so many bad options to watch under the Star Wars banner on Disney Plus, I thought about my disappointment in that. And something else that I heard, Black Bane would appreciate this, but something else I heard Snarky J mention today when I was listening to one of her streams, and it was about being really done with Star Wars, getting rid of her Star Wars memorabilia or what she had up in her studio and taking it down and replacing it with other stuff. And I just thought how disappointing that was. I really did think about how disappointing it was. But what came across to me was her utter disappointment with the franchise and where it is right now. Now, she's not as old as me. She's about half my damn age, right? But to think about it, somebody younger than me, a female who this acolyte show was apparently supposed to be made for, is so disgusted with what she saw, she's taking down her memorabilia. Now, honestly, I don't have a lot of Star Wars memorabilia. I have a lot of t-shirts because I'm a t-shirt dude. And I have my Mando and Grogu statue that's still in the box and not put up anywhere. But there's a bunch of little things that are around, my little Darth Maul keychain and stuff like that. It's a bunch of stuff around, you know. I am a Star Wars fan. But I thought about how disappointing it was to actually have to give up something like that. Because in my mind, when you have vandals at this point come through the doors to a franchise you love, an IP you love, and ruin it in this way, by walking away from it, you really do give it to them. You give them the keys to the kingdom. And, you know, you don't look back so you don't get turned into a pillar of salt, but you basically ran and left it to go the way it goes. Now, I know I've been cynical in the view that you just have to let this stuff die. And I don't change that position, right? But I understand that at some point, this has to get fixed. With some of the news that I heard today about how people were losing money and losing powers, if I wanted to believe the world was just in some kind of way, that it rains equally on good people and bad people the same way, that people this destructive and this wasteful of other people's money would have to eventually leave. They would eventually have to get fired or be gotten rid of. And I think that's where the Star Wars fan base is, with why they are willing to walk away from it, because they don't see the person who's ruining it all leaving it anytime soon. All right. So my thought was, in a just world, in a world where, you know, snipers get killed and, you know, shitty baby mamas get to go to jail, in a world where that kind of thing can happen, there would have to be some justice paid to the Star Wars fan base. If the company that paid all this money for this IP would ever want to make anything approaching $1 billion again, or just being profitable again, they'd have to. So, my thoughts that I had coming to me was what did I think would work for them to change this around? And I don't always do this because in some ways I think it's too hopeful, right? And I'm a bit more of a cynic, right? It's a little bit too hopeful for me. But in a sense, isn't that what Star Wars is all about? I mean, honestly, from the first movie that George made, wasn't it about hope? Wasn't it about understanding that the universe was left in darkness, but a new hope would rise? In that sense, I had to think about, for me as a fan, what would work for me to want to watch and be excited about Star Wars again? What would it take? And then going down that path, I thought it would be more interesting instead of playing it out in my head and, doing my own devil's advocate inside of my head. It might be more fun to share this with you guys because, admittedly, I believe most of you guys are Star Wars fans too, to greater or lesser extents. But at the very base, you are fans that want to see good material from an IP you've probably grown up with your whole life. And so I think this would be interesting to you. So I thought up a couple of points, a couple of ways that Lucasfilm or Disney could set about correcting the Star Wars universe and making it something that people wanted to see again, to bring it back to some sense of, I wouldn't even say prominence, just some sense of acceptability to the fan base, right? So I'm going to give you guys these, and you can tell me what you think about it in the chat, or if you want me to drop the link or something like that, let me know, and I'll do that. I know Newstel just went live. Shout out to our Newstel. But I'm going to get this in, and then I'm going to get out of here. What am I like to say? I got so disenchanted with Disney, I canceled my Disney Plus subscription. I don't blame you. Because I watch Disney Plus for Star Wars content and Marvel content primarily. I just saw that they have Alias on there. I might check it out for that. But if either one of those are good, I don't see the point in having Disney Plus. I mean, I have Apple TV just to watch Foundation, and y'all know I hate that show. That show was sucking out loud for me. The show has been decent, but it's not the book. And that's how I have to accept it. It's not the book. What up, Dr. T? Erase the last trilogy and Acolyte from canon. Dr. T, that shit is not canon for me. But given the framework that's there already with all of these pieces of crap thrown on the timeline, I actually thought about ways to correct that stuff and move on, because I'm a carpenter. I'm always about either building new or taking what's already there, rebuilding it and repurposing it, right? So how would you renovate this IP? How would you fix this franchise? Well, there's a couple of things that you could do. And what I wrote down in the time that I was firing up the stream was about, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 points. They'll be quick. I won't go forever because I don't want to take away from anybody else doing their thing today. And this is just impromptu. But one of the first things I would do or I think Disney should do, is fire some people. And there's reasons why. These are not just willy nilly type of things. There's reasons why, right? And fired in the sense that they need to be away from Star Wars material and Lucasfilms material, plain and simple, because they are damaging to this brand. I work for a corporation. If I was doing something really outlandish out there with the corporate logo on me, I would be fired without question. So for me, these bad actors inside of Lucasfilm are doing just that. Outside of the fact that understanding corporate culture, if I lose the company enough damn money, they will also fire me because you're a loss, which these actors inside Lucasfilm have done. So for me, being in California, I think there's grounds for terminations on some of these people, and I don't feel ashamed about you know calling for it necessarily. Yeah, two trio. Yeah, make lightsabers great again. Exactly. Make lightsabers hot again and deadly. So the first one would be Leslie Headland. Now, why would the first one be Leslie Headland? It'll sound messed up, but although she is not the person who's done the most damage to this franchise, her views on what she thinks Star Wars is not germane to the larger fan base of people who understand what Star Wars is. And understand when I say the larger fan base, I'm talking about the people who know the books, who know the games, who know the comics, who know the movies, who know the lore, who have devoted their whole lives to talking about this. Their whole lives. Done fan fiction, made their own films, made their own scripts and stuff like that, have run the gambit on that. Can talk about this for hours. And the main point about it is that it is consistent with what is there. They understand the timeline. They understand the characters. They love this. They eat, sleep, and breathe Star Wars. Okay? She is not one of those people. Now, I don't know when she came to Star Wars. In some ways, it might not even matter. But I understand that her view of what Star Wars is piecemeal at best. Now, that might not be bad per se, except for the fact that she's in a position to create material in Star Wars and try to craft and mold and fold her lack of understanding about this franchise into the franchise and put it out there for public consumption. Hence, the Acolyte. Because of the Acolyte was good, Andre. Because of the Acolyte having the budget that it did for as long as it was in production hell, I got a shitty Obi-Wan Kenobi movie because money was siphoned off of that to put into the Acolyte. Because of the Acolyte, I got a shitty Boba Fett show because money was siphoned off of that and put into the Acolyte. And thirdly, I got a shitty season of Mandalorian season 3. Because in my view, KK wanted the landscape clear so she could prove that this show was going to be the end all be all. She didn't want it competing with the Mandalorian. So she scuttled the Mandalorian, killed their budget, got in their writing room, changed what they had planned. Character assassinated Jon Favreau. and pipe money over to the Acolyte to give them a clear field where nothing was coming out and nothing would compete with them. And you see what you got for it. All that hard earned money, all that time spent working for people who do work at Lucasfilm, wrapped up in this show. And what did you get? One of the biggest lightsaber wielding turds you've ever seen. Some of the poorest, pedestrian, dare I say, childlike writing you've ever seen. And I tell you, y'all know I got 2 children. And I remember reading young teen stories and stuff like that. This is worse than them because those aren't bad. Some of those have been made into actual working movies and have fan bases who love them. This was not it. So, for that reason, in and of itself, just for this 8 episodes of torture that I had to go through, which is watching this Acolyte show as a Star Wars fan, and the blatant canon breaks and assaults on the timeline, the character assassination, the creator assassination that happened, I don't think she needs to be touching Star Wars anymore. Just like Rian Johnson. Look, I like The Glass Onion. I like Knives Out. He don't need to be touching Star Wars, though. Never. Do something else. Leslie Headland. She might be a fine director. She might be a fine writer. Not for Star Wars. Not for Star Wars. Talk to Oprah or Oxygen or whatever female chick show that's out now or station that's out now and start doing work over there on something. Maybe work on Russian dolls too. But she don't need to be touching anything in the Star Wars universe ever again. That is persona non grata. No. If she pitched something about Star Wars, it needs to be thrown in the ash can. Because this Acolyte is dropping down the ass sphincter of the universe. It's going to be buried, in my mind, in the same place they buried all them shitty ET games back in the 80s. You're not going to see this again. I will not be watching this again, not on a dare. No, there's no reason. So for that alone, even with certain parts in the Acolyte, you can pick off and say, "Oh, that was not so bad. Look at that. It was a little nugget of something that was cool." No, forget it. So, for the Acolyte being made, Leslie Headland has to go. The next one that has to go is the writing group. That Star Wars writing group that they're so proud of over there, they need to go. The reason why they have to go, because for my money, nothing that's come out of them has been good at all. They're suffering the same problem that Marvel is. They got a writing group by committee, and the only thing they know how to do is introduce sexuality in women, but don't know how to make a story. And I don't see how that can work, because I think women and sexuality kind of just go together. But not making the characters interesting, not making a story that's actually compelling and can hold anybody's attention for more than two minutes is a failure. Then you're not any good at your job. Even a DJ would know, if I can't grab you in the 15 seconds you listening to this beat, then I probably need to change the song. I don't need to keep playing it for this show and this show, and it's not working. Okay. What they do is shit. You don't think so? See Acolyte, see Book of Boba Fett, see Obi-Wan Kenobi, see Mando Season 3. I'm not even naming the animated stuff that completely fell off the damn map. I still haven't finished that last season of Bad Batch, and I don't care to. I thought I dodged a bullet, and then I watched The Acolyte. Mistakes. So the writing group needs to go. They do. As many people that were out on the picket line when the writer's strike happened, maybe there's some decent ones in that group. Get a sieve out and start shaking them loose. And have some qualifications for these people. First being that they are longtime Star Wars fans to George Lucas's Star Wars. Because I don't know about you, Disney, but if I bought something like that and I wanted to make it my own, I would not want to cut the throat of the goose that laid the golden eggs. I want that fan base intact. That's why you paid all that money for it. So all that stuff can come over to us, and all we have to do is give them what they already like. And as long as we give them what they already like, we can keep printing money. Right now, you are not printing money. You are burning money in a fucking blast furnace. It's going up quicker than the Joker set a pile of money on fire. So the writing group needs to go. All of them. I'm sure there's probably a decent one in the group, but look, man, you should have spoke up. Maybe you get rehired, put it in the application. Everybody else, everybody got to go. Because your track record is shit. Absolutely shit. So you might as well go. Did Andre say seeing something interesting early? Yeah. Disney style Mass Effect doesn't have these problems. Not yet, Rayhama. Apple TV shows are writing very interesting female characters. Daniel Poole for Mankind. I have to check it out. What up, Dead Set? So, Leslie Headland's 1, writing group is 2. The next one is Pablo Hidalgo. Now, this dude is an executive somewhere in Lucasfilm, and I don't even understand what the hell he does. Really, I don't. I hear his name all the time out of other YouTube content creators' mouths. Apparently, he's very active on Twitter, which I am not. I do not even have a Twitter account. X, whatever you want to call it, I don't. But apparently I should, since I run a channel. But he is very active on Twitter, talking or getting at fans and whatnot. And he is supposedly the source on some of this crappy stuff that went into the Acolyte. Like he is somehow a lore smith. The things that I've heard from this guy never sound accurate at all. Never. The fact that I have heard that he's attacked fans on X, Twitter, what have you, and went after them is problematic. The fact that anybody at Lucasfilm with a company email is on Twitter or X going at the fan base who doesn't like something you put out is problematic. You also should be fired. Now, because Pablo has been the source of so much bad information for some of these shows, the Acolyte, so named by Leslie Headland herself, and then what I know of what went wrong with Deborah Chow's Obi-Wan Kenobi, he got to go. I'm sorry. Thanks for your service. Take this lightsaber and stick it where you like it, but get the hell out of here. I'm serious. I'm like, I don't think it's a good look for any company to shit on the fan base that they expect to pay them. Now, you could say Disney does not actually get paid from the fan base. It gets more of its money from, the backers and those big three backers that everybody knows about. But regardless of that, The end user is still your customer. If the money that they are putting into this company to produce content that nobody wants does not bring them a return, they have to look at their financials too and decide if it's worth it for them to keep doing this shit. I'm serious. And because of that, what's good, Donnie Mac? I do not think they need to employ somebody who actively goes against or has something foul to say to that fan base. I don't. So Pablo Hidalgo got to go to. Now, the next one on his happy horse that I think should go, which is probably no secret to anybody else that listens to my show, is Dave Filoni needs to go. And for no other reason to me than being an untrustworthy Judas to George Lucas. If Kathleen Kennedy stabbed George in the heart by saying she was going to look after the characters and turn around and did the crap that she did, called him all kind of crap, said what the problem in Star Wars was and what Star Wars really is, you didn't make this shit. How the fuck would you know? Coffee girl. And stabbed him in the chest with every project that she produced and greenlit and threw money at. Dave Filoni stabbed him in the back by working with him on his side and always wanting to be the man next to the man, and now is in a position where he wants to become the man ahead of George. I don't like that shit at all. I'm serious. I'm a Scorpio. I have a very huge dislike for disloyalty. Absolutely not. That cannot be tolerated in any shape or form. And his actions have shown no loyalty to George. And I don't care, personally, I don't care about the Clone Wars. You know why? Because I didn't grow up on that shit. Like Black Bane is in here, will tell you, I'm not a Clone Wars baby. No. I didn't grow up on Star Wars from the Clone Wars. I grew up on Star Wars from A New Hope. From Star Wars. So I don't give a damn about all of this extra shit. I don't like canon breaking in this. If you can make it make sense, cool, awesome. But what I don't like, I really find very subversive and very disrespectful, is the way Dave Filoni constantly makes his characters take positions that George Lucas's characters have held the whole time. He is more directly responsible for canon breaking in this shit than Leslie Headland ever was. Because he tries to give it some validity. Now, I don't know when it became a bad word to say females in Star Wars, but there's always been females in Star Wars. I've always known female Star Wars geeks. And there's always been strong characters in Star Wars. Dark side, light side, Empire, Imperial Remnant, just out there on the fringes, criminals, all kind of shit. Don't even get me started on Boba Fett's daughter. There's always been strong female characters in Star Wars. Yo goofy ass is not making any strong female characters. I will give you a little bit of credit for Ahsoka. A little. Because I know you brought that character with you to Star Wars when you was looking for a job from George. But what you've done in the meantime, in your time being here, is the longest con I have ever seen. In the way you insidiously Weave your magic, your non-creative ass, and characters into every place George Lucas's characters were supposed to stand. You work your character in the storyline or timeline to be in front of them. I don't doubt that this whole idea of this Osha and May shit was probably yours. Probably was. Because I remember when you got called, you and John Favreau got called to go help Leslie Headland on this show. And I remember when John walked away from it and your ass stayed. I remember that. I don't think this Kiadi Mundi shit showing up in this was by some magical understanding of Leslie Headland's. She don't know this shit. It's evident. She don't even know what the hell was supposedly written in her own show. Watch an interview. Watch one. You'll like this bitch. Don't know what the hell is going on. She got as much clue what was going on in this shit as Joe Biden did. So for me, that was you. For your lack of vision in Star Wars that has only about you playing with your own little toys and trying to find a way to put your name ahead of George's, your ass needs to go. That is too disrespectful to me. Way too disrespectful for me. I didn't like it when I saw it in a Bad Batch. It hit me in my heart like it happened to me. Like, absolutely not. What? Oh, no. Nah, bruh. That would be like somebody in Marvel putting their name ahead of Stan Lee's on Spider-Man. What? Who the fuck is you? No. And I'm not giving you credit for the Clone Wars at all. Because George was on it for a while. And you did what he directed. The problem was he walked away from it and left you to fuck around with it. That was the problem. The Black Bane say being fan starting off on the fifth floor is way different than being a fan starting off from the basement when it's concrete was still wet. Yeah. You don't have the same input. You damn sure don't have the same love for what's happening here. And I don't doubt Dave is a fan. Dave is a fan, but Dave is a fan in the same way that Syndrome from The Incredibles was a fan of Mr. Incredible. Felt bad because you was kind of shunned. It wasn't your idea. So you'll just take it. And say it with me if you know, because when everybody's super, no one will be. When everybody's a Jedi, nobody is a Jedi. When everybody got a lightsaber, lightsabers don't mean shit. When everybody can use the Force ain't special. Dave is a problem, and he's not good at what he does anyway. Because no matter what you guys want to say about Clone Wars, we saw what Dave could do by himself. We've already seen it. We saw it for 8 episodes too. And what did you get? You got Ahsoka. Is anybody looking for an Ahsoka 2? I'm not. Do you think they did Thrawn justice? Even with his cowboy hat wearing ass talking to Timothy Zahn? You think he did Thrawn justice? Not from what I've been hearing in the 2 books I've gone through so far. No, not from what I've been hearing. Didn't get that at all. But what he wastes no time doing is going in and repurposing better work to craft it into his shit. He is doing no different than J.J. Abrams when he comes to a franchise. remake it in my image so I get the proceeds from it, but still use that banner head so people will come watch it. No. Ahsoka had some decent parts in it. I really like seeing Anakin, Hayden Christian show up and getting to be Vader again. I did like that because I think Hayden Christensen got a raw deal. It sucks that it happened in this show. Sucks. It don't make up for the whole show. It doesn't. And what you saw was Dave unbound. Boring, pointless, and cannon breaking all over the place. Doing shit that don't make no goddamn sense in the world. He's as big of a cut and paste writer as Leslie Headland. She's just bigger because her shit is obvious. Obvious. I heard something funny about Leslie, and I won't divulge too far, but she talked about the ending scene of The Acolyte. And the holding hands of them on the saber was to be homage or to copy the scene from Fight Club, the end of Fight Club. I'm like, oh, bitch, are you kidding me? That's what Dave does. So where'd she get that little nugget, that little trick from? You can't watch Ahsoka and not see Lord of the Rings all over the place. Better stories told by competent fucking writers. Successful, competent writers who crafted a universe. Dave ain't crafted no universe that I would want to spend any time in, but he wants credit like he did. No, go make your own. Zack Snyder did it. I don't see what your problem is. So my thinking is if you fire his ass, get him out of creative control in Lucasfilm, he can go forth and be fruitful. You would unbind him and unshackle him from being tied to George's shit, and he can go off somewhere and make his own universe, right? Right? He's that creative, right? Shouldn't be a problem then, should it? You know, there's a movie that I heard that they're trying to get in production. And it stars a character that was not the star of the movie he was first in. And this will be the first movie or the fourth movie in this franchise, which has a whole universe, has its own rules, has its own characters. And I'm finally looking to see this planet that I ain't seen in a minute. I haven't seen yet in this universe, and I'm really fascinated to see it. And the original writer is coming back with the original actor to do this movie. And the movie is another Riddick movie. And they want to go to Furia. I'm fucking fascinated to see that. But the point about that is that the original writer is doing this. Vin Diesel is only doing this movie because the original writer is doing it. And they're going to do another movie so they can put Riddick back on the screen again. Now, I mentioned that movie because Black Bane was the one who got me to watch Pitch Black. I knew who Vin Diesel was. I liked him in the Boiler Room. Yeah, I watched this, whatever the fuck. It's Australian. I like people with accents. Not that big of a deal. It's an awesome movie to me. Awesome B movie. But that character of Riddick that sprung out of it was very fascinating to me. Very fascinating. And one of the things I always wanted to see was Furia. Why? Not because every movie was awesome, but the crafting of that character made it interesting, made me more interested in what a Furia was. Every movie gave me a little bit more of what it means to be somebody from this planet and the tragedy that happened to the people on this planet. And from the last movie, you find out it's still out there. We scattered like Saiyans all over this galaxy, but no, the planet is still there. and he's going back there, I gotta watch that. I don't give a fuck if it's a B movie. I gotta watch that because that writer is doing it. So, point I'm making, and I'm forgetting the guy's name. I think it's Tui or something like that. Tuli. I forget his first name. But the point of it is that if Dave is such a good fucking writer, why can't he do like that guy? Why can't he do like that guy? That guy got out there and made one movie that people were interested in. Now he's on to the fourth. It spawned video games. It spawned animated shows from the character he created. Why can't Dave Filoni go do that somewhere else? And if you're asking yourself this question, you should be asking Dave Filoni, why the fuck can't you? You super creative, right? You want some genius status? Then go make your own fucking universe and get out of George's. You lick spittle. My new favorite curse word from House of the Dragon. So, Filoni need to go. I'm gonna try to speed this up. I'm already an hour in. Y'all know I can talk about geek shit forever, so I'll try to speed it up. The last person that needs to get fired before we can fix anything in the Star Wars franchise is no secret to anybody. It's George Lucas, right? Nah, I'm bullshitting with you. No, we need to fire KK. We need some Judge Dredd justice over there with Lucasfilm. And I mean that in an analogy, not directly. She needs to leave that company. She is doing more damage to that company's name with its creator's name on it than Deanna Troy did crashing the Enterprise. She is destroying that brand. Any way you look at it, I don't give a damn how many interviews, puff pieces, and magazines, and how much they say that the problem with Star Wars is the fan base. Bullshit. If the problem was the fan base, Disney wouldn't have bought it, and you wouldn't have been happy to jump at the head of that shit. Stop the cap. The problem with Star Wars is you. The problem you have with Star Wars is that the people who know the material the best don't like you. They don't like what you do with Star Wars. They don't like the movies you produced. And you too are not creative at all. You can't write. You can't direct. I don't even know how you find money. But you have none of those talents that are necessary to make any of this. If you want to tell me your creative idea was the Acolyte, you are shit at your job. If you want to tell me your creative ideas were to have the Scooter Gang in Book of Boba Fett, you are shit. If you want to tell me that your grand plan was to have Bo-Katan be the Mando in The Mandalorian, your ideas are shit. And if you want to tell me it was your idea to have Vader and Obi-Wan have a fight before they have a fight in New Hope, and have Obi-Wan Kenobi leave his post of guarding Luke Skywalker to chase after some no-running ass little girl Leia, your ideas, in fact, ma'am, are shit. Now, I'll say this. She probably can find money, but I don't know a grubby bitch that can't find money. I don't. She born and raised here in the Bay Area. I don't put it past her to be able to find some money to talk herself into a pocket. We got somebody from the Bay Area right now who want to be president, the knee pad in chief. She know how to find some money too. And you know how she found it. If she ain't no good to be president, this chick ain't no good to be president either. Because they have the same goofy mindset. Just like with Pablo Hidalgo, nobody who wants to talk shit about their own customers needs to be in charge of serving the customers. I'm sorry. This isn't a comedy. You don't get to have somebody roll up and ask for a Star Wars burger and then run it through the toilet, spit on it, put flies in it, and serve it to them. No, you don't. And talk about how much you hate them. No, you don't. That is a bad look. Do you see the CEO of Apple talking about how much he thinks that the people that buy iPads and iMacs and all that shit are dumb fucks? Do you see the people at Google thinking that all the people that use Google are just dumbasses and going on any show they can to say so? You see Mark Zuckerberg seeing anybody using Facebook and doing interviews? Yeah, these people are just stupid. They need to get out the house. No. So tell me, riddle me this, KK. Why the hell are you doing it? What do you think that's doing for you outside of, acting like a dysfunctional child that any attention is good attention? Because that's what it looks like you suffer from. Nobody paying attention to you. It's always Marsha, 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 right? You need to go. Far as I know, in the history of studio heads, you are by far the worst. You have produced bomb after bomb after bomb, and not in a good way. In a way that shows diminished profits, ruin IPs. 3 alone on your watch. Even the one that blew up in your hand that became good, you killed that one too, The Mandalorian. That is all on your hands. All of it. This latest one, this wet turd that we're supposed to be holding, that's all you too. Remember? You can think what Leslie did is great. You can. The two of you can sit there and have a whole circle jerk with her wife and Amanda Stenberg. Y'all can all sit there and just have a feeding frenzy, double doing each other, and keep telling yourself that this was a good show. But you know what? The people who watched it didn't like it. And the people who didn't watch it didn't like what they heard about it either, and don't seem to be wanting to go back and, well, maybe so. Maybe it might be a good show. It's not. It's not. You can call the internet a lie if you want to. You can claim fake reviews. You can say it's all just men. Okay, let's take that one. If it's all just men, the men don't like this shit. So where's your crew that outnumber the men in this shit? If you think we tank the ratings, if we're the problem in the fan base, well, I don't think Disney bought it just to get girls. That would seem silly. But the majority of these fan bases are dudes. Too fucking bad if you don't like that. If you had a son, maybe you'd care. You definitely need to go for what I have considered for a while financial malfeasance. Somebody does need to be cracking the books and looking in your pocketbook to see where all the money went on this piece of shit and where it's been going for a while inside of Lucasfilm, because it hasn't been showing up in the shows. I think y'all having too many girls' trips and parties. Personally, because it's not showing up on the screen, big or small. No. So for me, those are the 4 or 5 people that I think should be fired right off the bat, which would be a start to repairing, to fixing the Star Wars franchise. KK is the Joe Biden Star Wars. No, she still thinks she got a brain. Kool-Aid Kennedy has to get drop kicked off of every franchise ever created for this. No, she needs to go like Leslie Hedlund. She does not need to be able to touch anything else. And what up, big dog? And honestly, she don't know what the hell she's doing either. Because half of the stuff she does is always pulled from other movies she got some producing credit on. And that's why she keep trying to bring it back into shit. Her, Dave, and Leslie do the same cut and paste bullshit every time. Every damn time. It's predictable. If you watched enough movies and television, you'll see it. These people are not creative. They're thieves. They're plagiarists. It's just, they need to go. They need to get out of Star Wars. And they can just go and start their own thing. As I heard, when she thought she was going to be fired, she was going to start her own production company. Okay, go start one. Take Dave, take Leslie, and y'all can go over there with those actors y'all love and make your own shit. Let Dave create it. And Leslie can help him screenwrite it. And you can produce it, KK. And we'll see what piece of shit y'all turn out. But you won't call it Star Wars. You won't have to shit on George while you're playing in the world he built. You won't have to slander his name while he's still here living to hear you about what he did wrong in Star Wars, and he's not the only say-so in Star Wars. I'm sorry, but the person who created it, who sat down to put pen to paper to write this stuff, is the say-so. Is. That's just how it works. But you non-creative motherfuckers don't like that because you create nothing. That's your problem. That jealousy is eating you alive. But that's the path to the dark side. Dorcas. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. Don't let Sam be the only one. The only one who want to support this shit? God damn. You want to listen, but you don't want to support? Y'all kill me. Black folks. War Ready in here? I didn't see War Ready in here. You must have dipped in and dipped out. Oh, there you go. Yeah, what's up, War Ready? Yeah, Riddick franchise is underrated because it has so-so movies. But the lore, the development for the character is in there. It's in there. The last movie was just kind of a repeat of the first one, in a sense, sort of. But if you've ever seen, was it Robinson Crusoe on Mars? It kind of was like that. But still liked it. It had what's her name in it? It had Bo-Katan in it. I'm forgetting her name at the moment, but yeah. I think it's because I've seen her smiling too much. She on my Instagram. Her smile is freaking me out now. It makes me think she's crazy as shit. Anyway, so moving on. Saving the franchise, fixing the franchise. The first fix would be terminations. The first fix would be those terminations. KK, Dave Filoni, Pablo Hidalgo, the writing group, and Leslie Hedlund all need to go immediately, post haste. Give them their checks, give them their golden parachutes, whatever you got to give them. Spend some more money, give it to them. Give them enough so they can shut the fuck up and go. And don't say you ain't got it because you've already blew enough money on the stuff that they've produced anyway. That does not work. Was not good. You might as well pay them out and let them go on their merry way. Maybe they can make themselves a studio or something. Or an IP worth investing in. Now, people you should hire back. or should be promoted in this shit. If you're kicking people out, somebody needs to take their places, right? I'm all about that. Promoting from within, right? Katie Sackhoff. Thank you, Malika. Donnie Mack and Malika. Yeah, Katie Sackhoff. She was in that last Riddick movie. She don't mind frontal nudity at all, though, either. I ain't minding it either. But beyond that, in no particular order, you need Tony Gilroy on staff for the writers. Now, I understand that most people did not watch Andor up front. No matter how much I talked about it, no matter how much I told you it was a good show, or anybody else who watched it said it was a good show, once you understood the format, the 3-episode arc format, it was a great show. And more people have gotten to it later because it's 12 episodes. You got to get into it. It's a character you don't know that came out of some shit that KK created, Rogue One. But in Andor and at Tony Gilroy's helm, it may not look like Star Wars to some people because there are no lightsabers and force users around. But that Andor stuff is a great damn story. It is a great damn story. Really relatable to people living in the real world. And you have to understand how I come at this. Because Tony Gilroy doesn't even like this genre and wrote a story, he did the equivalent of what Alan Moore did with The Watchmen. He made something that was really good. Alan Moore hates superheroes. You don't like writing superhero stuff. But it didn't stop him from writing Watchmen, which comic book people love to death. He don't give a fuck about that. He don't even like it. And he wrote it. Because sometimes a good writer is just a good writer. Neil Gaiman makes some shit that some people might not like at all, but he is a damn good writer. In a comic book, in a novel, on a show, it don't matter. He can write his ass off. Tony Gilroy, in my book, is a decent writer. He wrote a compelling story. He wrote characters that I give a fuck about. And mind you, I can name more characters in the 12 episodes of Andor than I want to name in the 8 episodes of The Acolyte. More compelling characters. Nobody who was in there like Yord, then I'm like, man, kill this motherfucker right here. Kill him now. No, nobody like that. People that I was really interested in, like, damn, I want to know what's going on with this character. What are they going to do next season? Where is this going to go? Where is K2SO showing up? And for no other reason that while the Acolyte had his host of lightsaber wielding people, some may be interested at some points and then totally fell off a cliff and went completely in the opposite direction. Like, okay, now I hate this character. Jesus, they do. The character of Luthen in Andor is way more interesting. Way more interested. Way more. Man, there's something else going on with this dude. This had to be a Jedi. His speeches are better. His monologues are better. His interactions are better. Stellan Skarsgård is a better actor. But the work is there for him to act. The writing, the words that come out of these characters' mouths is good. It's damn good. You don't have to like Andor to like the show because there's enough other characters in that show that you would be interested in. Like, I always talk about One Way Out, right? I always talk about the Prison Break episode. Kino Loy, right? Played by Andy Serkis. Why do I want to know what's going on with that character? He's not even a main character in the damn show, but I'm more interested in seeing a second season of that show to find out where the hell is Kino. I got to know what's going on with him, man. Did he escape? Did he make it out? What happened? I need to know. I want to know. He's not even the main character. His name ain't on the title. He was in a couple episodes and out. But I am more fascinated about what would be going on with that character than any character I saw in the Acolyte. Writing. When that character got on that microphone and finally adjusted to what his situation was and understood what it was and started talking to those people, those words carried weight. Tony Gilroy's the one who did that show. That's the kind of shit you need in Star Wars. That's the kind of writing you need in Star Wars. If you had that level of writing in the Acolyte, nobody would be talking about it as a shitty show. You'd be talking about in the same sense I was talking about Supercell, in that you need to watch this. You need to check this out. Every reviewer would, especially with the number of eyeballs was on this show. Shout out to Donnie Mack for supporting the stream. He said, recruiting Andor, bank heist, prison break, funeral protests, all great story arcs. Exactly. And I love that arc of the story with 12 episodes. Once I figured out what it was, I fucking loved it. It's like, that's perfect, dude. That's perfect. That's good writing. Because you focus on it in sections. Got you. I got it. Good. Let's move on. And I may be wrong in saying 3. It's probably 4 episode arcs. But it worked. They all building on each other. So appreciate you, Donnie Mac, for that. I will give you the power of many.
Power of one. The power of two. The power of many. The power of one. The power of two. The power of many.
Appreciate you, Donnie Mac. So hire Tony Gilroy to write and let him hire you some people in the writing room if need be. The next one would be Rick Fumijaya. I think I'm saying his last name right. Now, this is a black dude that's a director who's directed a lot of episodes of The Mandalorian. Now, he did some other stuff. I believe it was Fresh or Dope, one of the shows that he did. He writes a good ground-based story, right? Special effects can look wonky, but he does a good ground-based story. Now, his stories are a little slower, but giving him some director nods on some stuff, you could actually get some stuff done that would be interesting and would have people talking about it in a sense that it was interesting to watch. Only thing he would need is some help with speeding up his stories. That'd be it. Now, along with him, I'm just going to try to speed this up because I'm taking a bit long. Along with him, I would hire Dallas Bryce Howard as well. The two of them as regular staff directors. Because one thing, I don't mind the episodes that Dallas Bryce Howard has done on The Mandalorian. She actually put something in it. There has some spirit, some substance in it that gives you a feminine feel without being totally feminist. Okay. If you know the story, behind the scenes story, she has been with her father the whole time that her father was messing around with George, not messing around with him, but working with George when George was working on these Star Wars movies. That's why she has a love for this shit. When I talk about, George was having meetings with Akira Kurosawa, you know who else was sitting at the table with him? Ron Howard and Dallas Bryce Howard. She's been there in this process. She's seen this and produced work in this that has not been terrible. She has a vision. Cool. That's what it needs. Because Dave ain't got one. I would take them on as staff writers to work on the next couple of projects that would be coming out from Star Wars. Now, the other person is Jon Favreau. I don't know where John has gone. I don't know what dungeon they got him locked up in, but he needs to be set free like Morpheus in the first Matrix movie and left to do what he wants to do in Star Wars. Because for a while there, he had a blank check to produce. And make no mistake about it, those first 2 seasons of Mandalorian and what he pulled off in that was good. Now you know who was one of the dissenting voices on that shit. Dave Filoni. John has a love for Star Wars. And no, he may not be a lore master. But I ask you, what fucking difference does it make when you have somebody like Leslie Headland get $180 million to do a whole 8-episode show? Do you think she understands lore at all? He can't be doing worse than her. Absolutely not. You know how you know? You can see 2 episodes or 2 seasons of his work, and you can see a season of her work. It ain't even the same. And apparently, they had Dave's help on both of them. So you tell me, who did a good job and who didn't? Because that's all it's about at the end of the day, right? Subscribers to your streaming channel, time spent watching your video or watching your episode so you can get high in the Nielsen rating. So people want to support this and you can make money off of selling coloring books, toys, Legos, whatever. That people want to buy the things that have, hey, this is a Mandalorian such and such. That's what it's about. That is the win. Are you lining up to buy anything from the Acolyte? I watched the whole show. You know the only thing that I would want to buy if they had one of them thick dick stranger lightsabers out there, because I like the fact that the lightsaber broke in half and turned into a Shoto. I like that. That was it. I don't want no fake knockoff Abeloth mask. No, I don't give a shit about that. What, you think I'm about to see people walking around on Halloween dressed like the stranger, a fucking helmet on their head and a garbage bag over their body? No. Nah, it's not happening. But I know for what John created and worked on, you can see somebody dressed up like Mando. You can. You can get Grogu and the whole deal. Even now, even after the 3rd season. That's what Star Wars needs. The last person I would bring back to replace the other people that you kicked out is George Lucas as creative consultant, as long as he want to do it. He don't have to craft the stories, but I would respect his view on what he thought was okay to put in the universe and what wasn't. Because for the 40 or so years from the time he wrote this first story, made the first movie, made the second movie, made the third movie, that canon was consistent and nothing got put into it without his say-so. And it was tight and it was enjoyable to a fan. We need that back. We need that kind of understanding of the universe back. That can be your creative executive, not Dave Filoni. No. And you could say George is old and maybe he ain't got it. Maybe his brain ain't there. And I could say, go fuck yourself. One of y'all probably voted for the damn dumbass that's calling himself president right now, if he remembers to change his pants or what his goddamn name is. I don't want to hear that shit. That would be the 5. George Lucas, Jon Favreau, Rick Fumajaya, Dallas Bryce Howard, Tony Gilroy. To fix this franchise. Now, that's a comment from Sam. Sam, yes, he was passionate about Star Wars. Did I miss something there? Must have. I don't see anything in here. Oh, Sam Whitworth. Let me see what Malika said real quick. Andor is a perfect example of world building, expanding the universe in a popular IP franchise. Good writing, compelling character development, and just good old-fashioned storytelling. Yes, Malika, I completely agree. Riddle me this. What was Mon Mothma's sister's girlfriend's name? Because I want to know what that little murderous rebel bitch is doing. I really want to know. That is a side character, not even a supporting character, a side character to a supporting character. And I'm interested in what's going on with her murderous ass. I got to know. You know, the lesbian girlfriend. Think I give a shit about that? No. I want to know what's going on with her because she was down and she racked up some kills in this episode. I got to know what's going on with her. Because if she in the Rebel Alliance doing some spy work, it's gonna be bloody, bro. It's gonna be bloody. You thought Black Widows was getting it in? No, that little chick right there was getting it. Another name to add is Sam Whitworth for recommendations. Sam Whitworth is all right, but I think he is a little bit too much in Dave's camp. But he's knowledgeable. I don't put it past him. He's knowledgeable as shit. From the videos I've seen, he's knowledgeable. But his knowledge is always coming from Dave. Or isn't it true that the lady took ideas from Coulter? Yes. If you heard any rumor about Leslie Hedlund taking any idea from somewhere else, it's true. She did. Same thing with Dave Filoni. All they do is take. They do not give, they take. Reappropriate and steal. That's KK's modus operandi. If you had something good in your movie, she taking that shit and putting it into a show that she making that's still gonna be dog shit. Do you think next Star Wars project should exclude Jedi and Sith? I'm gonna get to that right now, Herb, because I have some ideas on some shows that they should do to fix the franchise. I love Star Wars, the shows, Rogue Squadron, Epic X-Wing battles, yeah. Peace to Joe Herb. Was good, Herb. Yeah, Sunita Kynes. Yes, the chick from Andor. Yes. That little murderous chick. I got to know what's going on with her. She was interesting as hell, dude. She was interesting as hell. She was not the typical lesbian girlfriend. What did she tell Mon Mothma's sister when she was like, oh no, maybe we should just leave. Maybe we could run away together. What did she tell her? Hell no. Oh, you just a rich girl playing games, huh? Well, this ain't no game. This rebellion is real. And I got a job to do. She was on code. You hear me? She was on mission. I'm like, whoa. She just jumped up being one of the most interesting characters in this. Her and Luthen's assistant, I'm calling Padawan. Those are some interesting side characters. Not even main characters, just interesting side characters in Andor. Yeah, she was on program like a motherfucker, Donnie Mac. You know like I do. She was on program. And what was she doing? Sitting across the street, drinking caf. What you doing? Surveillance. She was on program. Boy, yeah, she stood on business like she stood on business like she was on the starting line for the Bears or something. She was on program, boy. She was standing on it. Yeah, that chick. I want to see that character turn up again. And mind you, you see me, I'm excited about it. This is not a main character. I don't think her name came up 5th in the starting credits. It probably didn't come up at all. But it's a character that was interesting, and that goes back to good writing. And it goes back to Tony Gilroy writing the story. So now, the main part of all of this, since I, drove people away because I talk long, I'm not a millennial, soundbite cut and paster. I actually have long form content. The meat of this comes down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things, 6 shows that I thought would work to fix the franchise of Star Wars. Now, understand, what's up, Blood Boiling? Should the Star Wars do a retcon to complete or a complete reboot? I'm getting to that right now. You can tell me what you think it is when you hear these. Okay, I'll try to go through them quick, and then I can elaborate after the fact because I elaborate a lot. The first thing I think that if you got rid of the people that I think should be fired, we all know the ones. You put in the people that I think could help steer the franchise in a better direction. You do something that Star Wars has not done yet successfully, which is something that comes from your sister studio, from Marvel. What made them successful? You do genre-specific shows. Genre-specific shows. In the start of the MCU, you had one movie coming out after another, and each one of those movies introduced a different character, but the movie was made in a particular style. When you got the first Iron Man movie, yeah, you got the billionaire, you got the Iron Man suit and all that, but that goes to kind of tech, kind of gear porn, right? Jon Favreau did that. All right, to kick off the MCU. Okay. What is your next movie? Captain America, right? First Avenger. What was it? Kind of a military war movie. But it worked. What was your next one? Thor? Okay, introduce a few more characters. What did you get out of that? You got your mysticism in a sense. Before you eventually got up to your Avengers level event where all those different characters came together. Now, while they played in the same world, their movies were distinctly different. They had a different take on how they went about the movies. Because initially, they didn't make the movies like we're making a comic book movie. They made the movie like this is this character. What is the world that this character inhabits? And they made that genre movie. Star Wars, I think, if you've eliminated the problems with the leadership, got the new people in, you go in that direction and it could work. Being as such with Andor Season 2. What is Andor? Andor in the Star Wars universe is a spy espionage story. Everybody likes Jason Bourne movies, right? Everybody likes pseudo-military movies, right? Like when I was talking to FD Steven, what do we talk about? Extraction, Land of Bad, other little military type movies that we like, but also spy and espionage movie like James Bond and shit like that. Andor is a spy. And that's what makes that story so damn interesting. No, he doesn't have the Force. No, he doesn't have a lightsaber. No, nothing sexy like that. But you know what that does? It gives you stakes when he gets into a situation. Because you know this fucking character can die. It plays off more of the interactions that are happening with regular people doing extraordinary things, which is what Marvel Comics built itself off of. You get that espionage and spy story in a Star Wars universe, which for me completely works, especially at the dawn of the rebellion. Because what are you doing as a rebel? Trying not to get caught. And you're doing all this other clandestine shit to overthrow this creeping empire that taking your country and the galaxy in the wrong direction. That's what makes Andor so fascinating. Because even with no lightsabers in it, I put my right hand to God that Luthen is a Jedi who walked away from the Order and escaped Order 66. I swear. And I'm watching the show for him to come out with it. Tell me you're a Jedi. Just admit it. Just admit it. That story was so good. You didn't think about the fact that there were no lightsabers in it. It never touched a Skywalker. None of that. And it was good. Now, that's one way. Genre shows. The first show being Andor, a genre spy show. Now, the next one would be a Mandalorian season 4. And in the Mandalorian season 4, which works as type of a Western type of show, because that's how it's been the whole time. It gets back to what Mandalorians and what that show should have been. Chasing bounties, catching heads, and, skirting with the criminal element. Going into these places that we don't see all the time. Because I might not mind in a season 4, and I'm saying might. It could be done stupidly. I might not mind a bounty of the week fucking grab for the Mandalorian. I might not mind that shit. He can skirt back to, Mandalore every once in a while, but that ain't his role. I need him out there in new places, new worlds, meeting more and new people, catching bounties. Because that's what I loved about the first season. He was out there catching bounties. And the show got way away from that to get into all this cloning shit, which you can tell from watching the Bad Batch is all Dave's rubbing himself to. Clones, clones, clones. That's what he loved. That's his input. You can see it in Bad Batch. You can see it in Mandalorian. You can see it in this fucking Ahsoka show, I believe. You're all about fucking clones because he's a Clone Wars baby. Can't get enough of them. Now, a Western type bounty hunter show, I think would work. Because who doesn't like to see a character who's not exactly a good character, but not exactly a bad one, going out there kicking people's ass on a weekly basis? Can have an overarching story. John could do it. Did it in 2 other seasons. I don't see why he would have a problem. But I would want to see that. Now, The third one would be a show that's already supposedly existing that was out there, but it was an idea that George had had. And it would be an underworld show. It would be a show about the criminal element in this galaxy. The Hutts, the Pikes, what was it? The Dark Mauls, the Rising Suns, or whatever the fuck it was. You would deal with those criminal elements. And that could end up being like your mob show, your crime underworld show, your Peaky Blinders, your Sopranos. That could be that show where you just dealing with the criminals. That's it. The whole show is about that shit. You can have them maybe skirting past, galactic people or people that run the government or something like that. Maybe even the Jedi every once in a while. Throwing them off the scent, seeing how criminals operate in a world where there are Jedi and thrive and have businesses and shit. You can get into that little talks about slavery, all of that shit, because all of that goes on out on the outer rim, right? All the way back to Coruscant. But you take that show and stop making it a murmur in the background and bring it to the forefront and get on it. You want people, you think this is a darker time in the world today where people want to see more about these villainous characters? Well, give me a crime show set to a mob kind of feel, and I'm dealing with Hutts. I'm dealing with Pikes who run Spice, and how these different criminal organizations actually interact or go to war with each other. That'd be interesting as shit to me. It would. You still get space travel. You still in a sci-fi world. You still got blasters and vibro blades and all kind of shit going on. You could even throw Boba Fett in there and give Tamara Morrison a chance to fix that fucking character. But it would be interesting. It'd be no different to me. Well, I'll get to that. It'd be no different to me than watching House of the Dragon and understanding that everybody in this show ain't that necessarily a good person. They're not. I'm rooting for different sides, but they ain't good people. I watch House of the Dragon. I want to see what Daemon doing. I want to see what Aemon doing. Both of those characters are reprehensible. But you know what? I kind of feel for they plights. What's going on? When they gonna get to killing each other? I would dig that in the Star Wars universe. I would. I would like to see infighting. Fucking gang wars is gangs a galaxy far, far away. Come on, man. Gangs of Star Wars. Oh man, that'd be fun for me. That'd be too much fun. I mean, it's a format that it's proven people like. People like Breaking Bad. What was Walter White doing? Selling drugs. You can have your Walter White in the Pikes selling spice. Come on, man. You get smugglers, you get all kind of shit in that show. You can have Han Solo roll through there if you feel like it. If not Han, maybe Lando. You can get all kind of shit going on in there. Gambling, all kind of shit. And it would actually make sense. And it'd be fun. Donnie Mac, Star Wars Godfather. Yeah, exactly. Boba Fett was supposed to, whatever, man. It was too many chefs in the kitchen on that one. Now, that's 3 shows. What is that for? That's 3 shows. Fuck, now I can't read my writing on this last one. Now, understand, none of these shows I'm necessarily, excuse me, none of these shows are happening in the past. None of them are happening in the past. None of them are happening particularly around the Skywalker time. No. All of these shows can pick up after that last piece of shit movie. All of them. Well, except for the Mando. Mando has to take place and Andor has to take place in the past, but it's still in the original timeline. Put it that way. It's still in the original timeline because Andor happens before Rogue One. I like Rogue One. I would keep Rogue One. It's a perfect watch to watch Rogue One and then go to A New Hope. It's a perfect watch. So if you watch Andor, you get to Rogue One, you get to New Hope, you Gucci. You're good. Doesn't ruin anything. Some of the rest of this stuff where Mando happens is after Jedi, right? Okay, that works. That's a time period that can work. Book of Boba Fett's after that. The Star Wars Underworld could work in that time frame. Rest of the stuff is past that. So we don't have to deal with, the problematic canon and get onto some fertile soil to create some new ideas and add to this IP in a non-destructive way, as opposed to subtract from this IP in a destructive way because you keep playing around in the past that you don't want to respect and you don't want to adhere to. Now, can't read what the fuck this says. Forgive me a second. Sometimes I scribble shit down and I write it too fast and I'm getting old. I didn't think of a name for this show because there isn't one. It just says Dominates in the Galaxy. But I'll skip that one and get to the other two. So to round it out with 5, since 5 has been the magic number so far. The next 2 shows I would do would be a show about a new Jedi Order. At the tail end, after those prequels, because in some ways you can't erase them. In some ways you can't. Some ways you can't. It would take a really bold move for somebody to say all of this is not canon. It would. While I don't hate Daisy Ridley, the Rey character is problematic and I don't like certain things that's happened with the Rey character. But I'm not of the mind that this character cannot be salvaged. I'm not of the mind that it can't be salvaged. I've given out my own idea before, I think, on how to salvage this character, but I think it could happen. Okay, it could happen. But in writing a story, say, let's just be funny, and say 86 years after The Last Skywalker, you can get a new Jedi Order starting. Or jump into the new Jedi Order. And you can get stories of a new group of Jedis, possibly knights, and how this new order functions. Now, it's very easy to make that because all these characters would be new. Yes, they might have something that you recognize, being a lightsaber or being their reliance on using the Force. But it would be more in a hard Scrabble. We're just starting this kind of way where they're not at prominence. And people don't look at them like, oh, y'all just in charge of everything. And not that way. They'd be seen more like the sheriff, the strangers, that people are beginning to believe again in what Jedi stand for, because they have been extinct for a while. And it can be that the person who tried to start this up was Rey, but she's long dead. And these are the people who have picked up from her teachings, like starting a new fucking dojo. And they have carried on these ideals from these manuscripts that she had. And then you get into your little Shogun shit. Maybe these Jedis deal with people who have differing views of how to use this force. Maybe they pull from some of that Legends canon of going to different planets who use the force differently. But that is the sojourn. That is the journey of these heroes, of accumulating all this knowledge, because they are basically, in a foundation sense, starting this shit all over again and figuring out what pieces to keep and what pieces to let go. And maybe these Jedi can have attachments, like Luke kind of wanted. It doesn't destroy what came after it or before it. It just builds on it. You don't have to wipe away Rey, which would cause some people to be upset. No, you don't wipe her away. You just pick up the story after she's been dead for a while. And you understand that she could have tried to restart the Jedi Order. And this is what came of it. That way, all the fans could be a little bit happy. The long-term fans don't have to live through Rey bastardizing Luke Skywalker's journey from the extended universe and Legends. And the Disney fans can still look at it and say, well, yeah, she had it. Yeah, but you never got to see it. And don't worry about it. It's still here in a different form. They give her credit. She could have a whole fucking statue in their temple. But these are some new Jedi doing things their way. And remembering and going back further in the past to grab on to what Jedis used to be. That'd be interesting to me. Now, the sister show to this, which could be in a Game of Thrones kind of way in the future, would be to adopt something that I think has been missing for a long time. And it would be a show simply titled Kesh. Or Lost Tribe of the Sith. And in this show, you would get this planet of dark side force users who are Sith, who were trained to become Sith. And you adopt the Lost Tribe of the Sith books and turn that into an entire show. The same way Game of Thrones took their books and turned it into a show. Or House of the Dragon took its books and turned it into a damn show. Disney owns this shit. If it's good enough to piecemeal off of, it's good enough to turn into your own shit. And don't give me anything about the money, because you flush enough money behind KK and Leslie Headland to make up for this. Get the rights, do what you need to. Shit, you got Fox back in Marvel. You got Marvel characters from Fox back in the fold. I think you can make this happen. This should be light work. And you do this show on the Lost Tribe of the Sith. And get into all that. They even have a female protagonist. And you can enjoy it. And you can get all your Game of Thrones jollies off with that show because it would seem medieval because the world of Kesh is kind of behind the rest of the galaxy. It's still in the same galaxy. It's just a little behind. They don't really have space travel. They're pretty much landlocked or planet locked, I should say. So they're just stuck on their planet and they deal with the shit on their planet. They have beefs with each other and stuff like that because in any group there will become splinters and factions. You can get your political maneuvering out of that in a house of cards kind of way, with people trying to bump their way up in the hierarchy to be better in that order, not the rule of two, because they don't know anything about that. But then it would get that Jones off for Star Wars fans who just need to see Sith. And if you do it right, you can have the Lost Tribe of the Sith show with the New Jedi Order show eventually cross over with each other. With two sides of known characters that you have invested in coming together in one crossover event where you don't know who you want to choose. But you're rooting for both sides and just enjoying what you're seeing. Because then you would, in fact, have your Jedi versus Sith again. But it's different. That is how I think you fix this franchise. Newer ideas further out from the source. You don't necessarily have to destroy anything, but you do have to start thinking in the future. You get out of the Clone Wars era. You get out of messing around in the past and destroying canon any more than has already been ruined. You don't have to destroy the sequel series. You just move out the same number of years ahead as the Acolyte show came before the prequels. And you start on new ground and hit the ground running. You can have your one straggling show that happens before New Hope, which is Andor Season 2. You have your secondary tale, which is Mando 4. And then everything else is further out. Everything. Because even the Underworld show would be interesting in the future. Because there wouldn't be any Jedi. They would be reduced. So what are they dealing with? Republics? Yeah, it'd be a lot of crime going on. All three of those shows, in that sense, the Underworld show, a Jedi show, and a Sith show, and a bounty hunter show, could all actually work together towards an end, towards a bigger event at one point happening. If you do it right, if it's written by competent people, directed by competent people, planned out and plotted by people who know how to build universes. And it would be an addition to what's already there and not a subtraction. So that's it. That's my view on how do you fix this franchise. Apologies if it wasn't short and easily digestible in the 7-minute formats. I don't do videos that short. I don't know how anybody does. But anything I think is worth saying is worth, explaining a little bit. So it's a 2-hour block. It's like watching a movie. So you should be able to enjoy it. Thank you to everybody that came in tonight to listen to this. It was an impromptu stream. Man, it's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. So it's about time for me to turn it in too. Got a busy day tomorrow. And I got one more day before I go see Deadpool and Wolverine. So thank you guys for coming through. Thank you to the people who supported the stream. Sam Rogers, the Black Bane, appreciate you. And Mr. Donnie Mack, appreciate you for supporting the stream. To everyone else, have a good evening. Stay safe. And if you have any ideas on any of these, you have thoughts, put it in the comments section below this video. I do read all my comments and I like the engagement and the interaction. The other thing I'll say is remember that all of those ideas I said had nothing to do with Skywalkers. None of them. And if any one of them sounded interesting, that just goes to show that you can have Star Wars without focusing on the Skywalkers because they have tried to kill them enough. Let's let it lie and move on. I don't hate the Skywalkers. I love Luke Skywalker and the Skywalker family, but we need to move forward because they are ruining it, playing around in the past and not looking forward to the future. So appreciate you guys coming through. I'm artisanmc, and I will see you the next time you can hear a geek speak. Peace.